Well, I just made it home. No travel delays, yay. It was a very early wake up call this morning. I actually woke up like 15 minutes before my alarm was gonna go off, which was like a little before 4 a.m. Eastern time. And now I am back home and it's a little after 9 a.m. Central time. So that'll make for a little bit of a long day by the time I get to this afternoon, but feeling okay so far. It's also really, really nice out here. Like it's almost fall-like weather. It's 60 something degrees. It's not very humid. I came home and immediately opened all of my windows, which is a nice change from how it was in Virginia. Before I start getting unpacked and kind of get into the weeds on that, because like I said before, I'm a person who really feels like I need to unpack everything immediately when I get back from a trip. It just helps me feel more settled. But I'm gonna put that off for a little bit to go get some movement in, kind of get the travel stiffness out of me before my energy starts to crash. I haven't actually had a chance to even look at my Oura Ring data for my sleep. I know my sleep was a little bit restless last night, and I know I'm gonna be a little bit less recovered than normal just because I probably got a couple of hours less sleep than I normally would. So my workout certainly won't be anything crazy, but just enough to get me moving, kind of keep me on track, maybe give me a little bit of energy to get through unpacking. And then later this afternoon, I am training a client at the gym, and hopefully in between I can get fairly well unpacked and organized so that I get that done before the early morning really hits me later this afternoon. Finally got my Oura Ring to load, and sleep score is a bit low as expected, about 6 hours last night, but readiness is still okay overall. So that kind of matches up with how I'm feeling at this point. All right, it's about noon now, and I am pretty much completely unpacked. I started some laundry, I got my little workout done. That all feels really good. I would love to take a shower, but I decided to prioritize the unpacking part first. I've been home for like maybe 3 hours now, and it feels so good to have gotten all of that done already. It's about 10:15 on Saturday morning. I'm on my way to the farmer's market, making a quick stop at the library to pick up a couple of books that I have on hold. And then I also need to stop at the grocery store on my way home. I kind of like cleaned out my fridge before I went out of town, so I definitely need to restock some things. And I woke up with like a cold sore forming on my lip, so that's fun. It's later in the afternoon and I am doing a little research, I guess. I mentioned at the end of my last video that I kind of have something in the works that I've been thinking about for a while that would kind of be like a life shift for at least the short-term future. It's not going to be like a super long-term thing, but basically I've been thinking about spending a couple of months in Richmond, Virginia, where Freddie is, to do one more attempt at rehabbing her and see if she can be ridden again. So I also mentioned previously that I've had Freddie since 2017. I spent a year showing her pretty seriously, and then she got injured. And kind of from that time forward, there was a lot of recurring injury, a lot of giving her time off, rehabbing her, trying to bring her back, and then another little injury would come up, and this kind of went on and on for a long time until eventually I tried giving her like a full year off. I've tried sending her to special rehab facilities where they've done other work with her, but always kind of ended up with her not being able to hold up to a lot of work or a lot of riding. Definitely not enough to be a show horse, but even in the past when we've done these rehab stints, like she would get to a certain point in the rehab program and then her old injury would start to come up again. That said, she has now had quite a bit of time off, and if we look back at the last several years where we've tried to rehab her again and again, that has accumulated in mostly a lot of time off. And the last couple times that I've gone to see her since she's been at my friend's house in Virginia, I've kind of had the urge to give it one last shot, even if it might be somewhat unrealistic to expect a different outcome at this point. But she's looking really good, she seems really happy and healthy, and I just kind of feel like if I don't try it one more time and maybe do things a little bit differently, that I'm always going to wonder if I should have done that. I also don't have a horse to ride right now. I want to kind of keep myself involved with horses as much as I can while I am either trying to find another horse or seeing what Freddie can do. And it just also kind of seems like it would be a bit of a fun project to take on for the next couple of months. I don't really have anything that is tying me to home. Like, I don't need to be here necessarily, at least not for the next couple of months. I can work remotely, I can do my doctor's appointments remotely. I don't really have anything coming up here where like it requires me to be home. So this felt like really good timing to give it a shot. And really the only question would be, where would I stay while I'm there, and kind of what the exact timing would be, like when I would essentially move there for the short term, sort of how quickly I could really make it happen. So I've been looking into short-term rentals like Airbnb. There are some apartment buildings in that area that offer furnished short-term rentals as well. I have a couple of options that I'm looking at, but haven't really figured out what would make the most sense or what would be available on my time frame. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now, is just looking into some of these, kind of at the same time just like wrapping my head around what this would mean and sort of all of the logistical pieces. And it would be a lot. Like, it would be kind of hard to pack everything up. I would have to drive there because obviously I would want to have a car. That sounds kind of awful. It's a very long drive. But all of the things that I can come up with for like why this would be hard also feel pretty easy to overcome. Like I said, it would be fairly short term, maybe 2 to 3 months. I know that if I were working with Freddie for that amount of time, we'd probably find out pretty quickly whether this plan is going to work at all. If it doesn't, I mean, I'm basically just back where I am now, knowing that Freddie's not going to be a horse that I can ride and show, and she could stay where she is now and have a really nice place to live. And if it does work to some extent, even for this short time, then I have a way to get some horse time in my life, maybe ride a little bit if we get her to that point. And it just kind of feels like, why not? Why not do this for a couple of months? So we're kind of getting to the end of July. I think ultimately, ideally, I would be there kind of like August and September time frame, which is coming up really fast, but also gives me the next couple of weeks to hopefully nail down a place that I could stay, wrap up any things that I would need to do here to be ready to leave for a couple of months, kind of just start packing and getting ready to go. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. It does feel a little bit overwhelming and maybe a little bit scary to think about doing this, but also like it's a couple months and it would be really nice to spend that time with Freddie, even just to kind of like get away from normal home life and kind of have a different environment or different routine for a little bit. So yeah, still some things to figure out, but could be nailing down all those details in the very near future. I will keep you posted. Good morning, happy Monday. It's about 9:45 now. I'm just getting ready to head into an IV appointment. Sorry if the rain noise is really loud. It's been pouring for quite a while now. I was really lucky that I got out early for my sunlight this morning because the sun was out, the skies were pretty blue. I had no idea it was going to rain like this. As soon as I got back from being outside early this morning, there was a little rain shower and it got super cloudy, and now it's just been raining ever since. So anyway, I have my NAD IV today. That's the one that's a bit uncomfortable as it's dripping. Just kind of makes you feel a little bit nauseated, just kind of icky. It's very tolerable, and the slower that you let it drip, the less uncomfortable it is, but that does mean it also takes a little bit longer. It's just a little bit less of like a relaxing experience and more of something that like I just have to kind of get through it. But I did bring my computer so I can get some things done, also kind of distract myself, and it will be kind of nice and cozy in there on this rainy day. But gonna head in for my IV, and then I also need to do a couple little updates since my appointment with my naturopath a couple of weeks ago. There are a few little things that I have just sort of experimented with that have been kind of interesting, so do a little update on that later. It's a little while later, and I'm about to get on a call actually about an apartment rental unit in Virginia that I'm looking into as a potential place that I could stay for a couple months if I decide to go there, which I am like 99% sure I am going to do that. Just have to find a place to stay and kind of get myself organized enough that I could leave for a couple of months. But I wanted to do a quick update on a few things that have come up since I had my naturopathic doctor's appointment a couple of weeks ago, where we went over all my lab test results. So the plan after that was to do these additional gut tests where we're doing split sample testing, or essentially I'll send in like 4 different tests, 2 test kits to one company, 2 test kits to another company under different names, all on the same day, to get comparison results, both comparing the 2 sets of data from 2 different testing kits and testing companies, but also sending in 2 samples to each of those places from the same day to see if those results are the same. Basically to see how accurate those test results really are, or how much we can really trust what's coming out of those, and just to get a whole bunch more data to kind of compare to what we already have. So my doctor has ordered all those test kits, and I will be picking them up next week, and I think hopefully getting them done like within another week after that. If I am going to go to Virginia, I want to get that done before I go, kind of by the end of this month. I also will have to stop taking any supplements. I'm actually going to do that starting today or starting tonight. I need to kind of be off all supplements for at least a week, preferably 2 weeks. So it'll probably be somewhere in between there, but just don't want to be on anything that could show up in the gut test results or could impact those test results. So that'll be kind of interesting to see a full break from all supplements for a couple of weeks if I notice anything. One of the things I had also kind of experimented with after we went over all those test results, and one of the big things that had come up on the gut test, was that it seems like I'm not really digesting food particularly well, including fats and vegetables. Those are 2 things that came up in my result. And my doctor was surprised because I told her I had been taking digestive enzymes even up to like the day before that I did that test. She had kind of assumed that I had stopped taking those beforehand, and that's why some of that stuff showed up. And one of the suggestions was that maybe we would try a really, really strong digestive enzyme at some point to see if that made any difference. But in the meantime, I tried just increasing the dose of the digestive enzymes that I'm currently taking. I think the actual instructions on the bottle say like 1 to 2 capsules with meals, and I've always just done 1, so I figured, well, why don't I just try taking 2 and see if I notice anything different. And I actually feel like it's been significantly helpful. Like I find that when I eat a meal and I take 2 of the digestive enzymes, I just feel less bloated afterwards. I don't feel so like super full, even if I'm like eating a normal sized meal. Basically, I just don't notice my digestion afterwards like I might otherwise. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And that's where also will be kind of an interesting test for the next couple of weeks, taking a break from any supplements. Like, do I notice some more general digestive symptoms after meals if I'm not taking any enzymes? But I just thought that was interesting. Definitely noted that down to talk to my doctor about next time we have an appointment. And then the other thing that I've been experimenting with was, I think this was from the session I had with her before this last one, where we had talked about my low-dose naltrexone prescription. I was sort of working my way back onto it. I had stopped taking it before my cosmetic surgery, had waited a couple weeks afterwards, and then reintroduced it. And she wanted me to experiment with increasing that dosage over several weeks to see if I noticed any increased benefit from it at a higher dose. So I had worked my way from, like, normally I was on 3 milligrams. So I got myself back up to 3. Then I went up to 4.5, and then to 6, and then to 7.5, and then to 9 milligrams. And that was over, like, each one I did like at least 10 days on it before I would increase the dose again. Even right as I got up to like 6-ish, and then especially when I got up to 9, I feel like I noticed kind of a sense of like brain fog or almost grogginess, especially when I wake up in the morning. Like I just have this really, really heavy feeling. It's hard to get out of bed. I just feel kind of like my whole body just feels heavy. That's the only way I can think to describe it. Kind of like when you wake up in a fog and it's hard to shake that and get going in the day. It just takes me longer to kind of get out of that funk first thing in the morning. And it kind of carries throughout the day. Like it gets better generally as I get moving, but I do just feel like it kind of is more noticeable to me. And I'm not noticing any other kind of like additional benefits from it at the higher dose. Like I'm not noticing, I don't know, better mood or obviously not better energy or less pain or something like that. Everything else feels pretty the same. So I think what I'm gonna do is kind of work my way back down, like go back down to 6 milligrams and then see what I noticed there, maybe even go back down to 3 milligrams. I feel like 3 milligrams was where I felt like I noticed a benefit from it in terms of sleep improvement and reduced pain and inflammation. But that then when I go up higher from there, that's when I start to notice more of kind of that foggy, groggy feeling. So I'd be really curious if anybody that sees this is on low dose naltrexone or has had experience with that medication, if those symptoms are anything that you've noticed. It's not something that I've heard as being kind of a side effect. I guess I don't know that many people that are taking it, or haven't heard like a lot of anecdotal stories about taking low dose naltrexone and side effects or symptoms from it. But that's another thing that I'll just have to chat with my doctor about and like see if that's something she's noticed with other people on it, if there's any like research on that. But that's just kind of been my experience over the last couple of months doing a trial of increasing that dosage. Probably gonna go back down to a lesser dose and kind of find that happy medium. But if anybody's been on low dose naltrexone or on it now, let me know what your experience has been like, because I'd be really curious to hear. Good morning, it's Wednesday, it's a little before 11 o'clock. I actually just got home from a massage where I also had some cupping done, which you can probably see. But anyway, I actually got a text from my sister this morning saying, do you want to do a yoga class today? This was something that we used to do all the time, kind of before she had kids mostly. I think we probably haven't done it since she had her second baby, like almost 2 years ago. But I would basically set up like an online streaming class, and then we would do a Zoom meeting and I would just screen share so that we could do the class together. And it was kind of a nice way to like feel like I was doing a yoga class with somebody, also have a chance to spend a little time with my sister, catch up with her. But like I said, she had kids, it's gotten a little hard to coordinate. So when she sent me that text this morning, I like rearranged my schedule, switched an appointment, because I knew that if I said I couldn't do it, it was very unlikely that this was gonna happen again for a long time. So luckily it was pretty easy to make this work. So I'm gonna get a little post-massage yoga in.
Here, started down, left leg lengthens nice and long. Stretch the leg up to the sky and start laying. And now twist one knee across the body towards your left. Right knee stays in, left leg lengthens. And then switch the left knee and right leg. And towards your body. And stretch your left leg onto the floor behind you. Take a steeple breath. Arc up and over to your right. Hands frame your foot. Squeeze the hips. Straighten your front leg. Side of the mat. Right knee is bent. Arms extend. Forward, exhale. Reverse your warrior. Float the right leg up and back. Open 3-point pose. Coming into your pigeon pose. On the right. Forward. Extended child's pose. Knees as wide as the mat. Stack your right knee on top of your left knee and then twist over that belly. Twist over your belly. Elbows back. Breathe deeply here. Or you could prop underneath your hips of the block if you'd like. Just rest and receive. Heart center, bowing the chin to the chest. Namaste.
I just finished a red light session and now I'm heading to a chiropractor appointment. I also picked up a couple of supplements at the red light clinic while I was here today. Assuming that I'm going to be heading out to Virginia sooner than later, I wanted to start getting kind of stocked up on supplements and medications and everything so that I'll have everything I need, like at least for the next while. Obviously, I could order things while I'm there or even pick up prescriptions at a pharmacy out there or something if I need to, but just want to get as prepared as possible. So I'm gonna head to the chiro, and then I'm actually stopping at the pharmacy on my way home to pick up my progesterone and thyroid prescriptions. I think with both of those, I will then have enough to get through the next 2 months. So it should be pretty good to go, at least in terms of supplements and medications. It's ended up being a very rainy, sort of gloomy afternoon, which has actually been kind of nice. I didn't have to be anywhere this afternoon, and it's kind of been like a cozy rainy day, and I've gotten a lot of stuff done. I ended up doing almost like an hour treadmill walk, very slow walk because I was doing work on my computer at the same time, but I felt like I got a good amount of stuff done and got my steps in, which was great. But anyway, I had some thoughts this morning as I was looking at my Oura Ring data. Just thought it was kind of interesting because I did feel like I slept really well last night and felt like my sleep has been really good lately. I have noticed and kind of mentioned that like I've had more of a sort of groggy, brain foggy feeling in the last few weeks, and I thought that might be related to I had increased my naltrexone dose for a while and kind of was trying to find what the right level was for me, and as I increase it, I feel like I get more of that just sort of heavy feeling, a little harder to get out of bed in the morning or just kind of like shake off the sleepy feeling in the morning. So I have reduced the dose back down a little bit to see if that would help. But it was just interesting because this morning, I'll put a little screenshot of my Oura Ring up here, but my sleep and recovery scores were really, really high. My recovery score might be like the highest I've ever seen it, which is great. And I do feel a little better today than I have maybe in the past few days. A little bit of that heavy foggy feeling is gone. It was just easier to kind of wake up and get going this morning. I didn't have that like intense sort of muscle weariness or heaviness, but at the same time, I do still have noticeable pain. Like I've had a lot of joint pain recently, more so than normal, I would say. In particular, like my wrists and my feet just kind of ache all the time. And that's not always the case. That I feel like that's more of kind of an off and on thing for me. I feel like I've really noticed, like yesterday when I was doing yoga, I was like, my wrists just hurt. My ankles kind of hurt. So anyway, all that to say, I find it really interesting when the objective data, like from my Oura Ring, is showing me that my recovery is really good, that a lot of the metrics related to sleep and recovery, I'm doing really well. And yet I can still have a lot of the same symptoms that I've been experiencing regularly for many years. And I guess just like knowing what my body is dealing with in terms of knowing there are heavy metals, knowing there are some gut issues, knowing I'm not producing hormones like I should be, that all of these things are definitely making it difficult for my body to function well. I guess I find it really reassuring to see that there are still a lot of ways in which my body is being very resilient, or I guess like not totally falling apart. So even if I do have some of these symptoms where I'm still feeling fatigued, I have maybe some pain, inflammation, I have some bad days from time to time that are really challenging. This is where I really appreciate having like an Oura Ring or something that is giving me other metrics to measure. I think it's just nice to see that despite some of these things I might be experiencing on a daily basis, there's still some good signs that my body's doing okay. And I think it also reiterates the importance of the really simple, basic stuff that I've been focusing on for a long time, like being really diligent about my sleep schedule, getting movement every day, making sure I'm eating enough protein, even just like getting outside, getting that sunlight, staying hydrated. Those are not things that I was focusing on at the beginning or even maybe a couple of years ago. And I know that probably not a lot has changed physiologically for me in the past several years, at least not significantly. A lot of the stuff that my doctor and I have been tracking and testing over the last maybe like 5 or so years, a lot of that data has been fairly consistent, or a lot of the same things have shown up over and over again. But in that time frame, I think I also have done a much better job of focusing on the basics and like making good sleep a non-negotiable, developing an exercise routine that keeps me strong but also allows for a lot of rest and recovery, getting outside, getting sunlight every day for circadian rhythm regulation, finding eating patterns and foods that work well for me. These are things that I was much less diligent about, and especially in the beginning, but even like I said, even than maybe just a couple of years ago. And I think that dialing those things in and really creating kind of that foundation is what has allowed me to make small improvements and kind of maintain that resilience and give my body some support, even while all these other sort of like deeper things are still going on. And that's again where I find some kind of tracking of objective metrics to be really reassuring and helpful for me. As much as I want to and do rely on my own subjective measurements or kind of like how I'm feeling to dictate how I'm taking care of myself or what I'm doing in terms of rest and recovery and movement and all of these things, it's helpful for me to see that even on days when maybe I'm not feeling very good or my symptoms are flaring, that keeping up with these basic things is helping my body to manage and stay resilient in the long run. So whether or not you have some kind of health issue or chronic illness that you are trying to manage, getting those basic wellness routines in place, I just think is so important and so beneficial for long-term health and well-being.